Hey, what's up? This is Jeff from Goya and Spirit Adrift, and you're listening to Doom Tomb Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Doom Tomb Podcast. My name is Chris. I am your host, and today we have all of the band members from the band Doomstress, and they are based out of Texas, which was where we were at Texas Mist for the Stoner Days Festival. You're going to hear a whole lot of other interviews, but this was one of them. It's a little bit short, so I added something at the end. I actually added an interview, and that was a quick one too, with Todd Severin from Ripple Music and Damon Caraway from Gravitoid Presents that put on the Stoner Days Festival. So check that out towards the end after the music. You will not be disappointed. We got a lot in a short period of time. All right, I think that's about it for now. I think it's time to get into the interview. This is the band Doomstress. All right, we are back again at Texas Mist in Austin, Texas. Another wonderful interview from South by Southwest. I have all the members here from the band Doomstress. How is everybody doing today?
Great, awesome.
We're doing good.
I
was so excited. You were one of the highlights. I was waiting to see you all live. I haven't seen you yet. I'm out in Arizona. I know you played in Flagstaff. I'm hoping someday you'll make it over to the Tempe, Phoenix, Mesa area.
It's definitely in our plans to make it, do a more extensive Southwestern to U.S. tour. So hopefully we can make that happen this year. So
we would love to have you. Now, I'd just like to know, how'd y'all get started as a band? I mean, how long you been around? And
Doomstress has been behind the scenes, like me and Brandon went up to Ohio in March of 2016 to start the recordings of the original self-released EP, and
right.
With my brother on drums, and I just had a few songs I'd written. We had a couple covers that we wanted to do, kind of to show when we unveiled it what was different from what we had done previously with our other bands like Project Armageddon and a band before that and stuff. And then in June we did I think our EP release and actually debuted as a band in June of 2016, and then we started touring in that August, and just been kind of like that. Every couple months we go out on the road for a couple weeks. Try to keep that going.
And you have been all over social media. It's amazing. You know, there's some bands out here in the scene that it's just like, number one, everybody knows who they are, and so gracious, and right away, as soon as I met you, just like open arms, just like, how you doing? And I know it's really indicative of the scene, but it just makes you feel like so welcomed.
It's like a community, a family in essence, you know. It's we're all out here having fun doing music, and we have a common bond in that. Liking these different types of music that we're here for at these certain events. So
right.
It kind of brings us together, and we're here to have a good time with that.
Absolutely. Now, I know you're out here for this show at South by Southwest, and I know you got to scoot out of here, so I'm going to make it pretty brief, but where else are you going tonight?
We're playing the Worshipper Cab Showcase over at the Lost Well. Yeah, we're kind of, I guess, a semi-headliner on that with Zed, and then after us is Medusa from 1975. And then I play again headlining with Josephus as well, because I play bass for them.
And then anything after that?
Doomstress, no. Josephus has a show tomorrow at Antone's Records.
Oh, fantastic.
With George Kinney and Lone Star Hippie.
And what do you have down the line for this year? Are you planning on some new music or?
Hopefully we'll get this. We've got a full length recorded. Right now we were just talking with a studio engineer where we did the recording and we want to go back and do the full mix up in Ohio, at Supernatural Sound up there in Cortland, Ohio, and so we're planning. Hopefully we can do that in the next few weeks, so we can get get it off to get it mastered and submitted for pressing or whatever else we do with it there.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
But that's it as far as the recording. We just put out the split EP with Sparrowmilk on DHU Records. Noslip Records put out a CD version for us.
Yes.
And so we're pushing those right now, which are a great. The 7-inch that we did last year is gone. That's sold out from DHU Records. So we're just moving these things. We're doing Bandcamp, but we're not doing the whole. Well, we're on social media. We're not doing like the Spotify and a lot of more of the digital avenues, at least at this point.
Does it pay to do it?
Nothing really pays.
Right.
You kind of, sustain yourself, but or we've been fortunate enough to be able to do that kind of touring and stuff.
Right.
So.
Now, with the first release that you have, and I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna go over a little bit, like track by track. Did you do it yourself? Do you have an engineer and producer?
We produced it ourselves, and then we just had a studio engineer that did the recording setup for us.
And is there anything that you could give? Because I've asked this. Because how long have you been in an active band?
A year and a half. Almost June will be 2 years since we came out, and August will be 2 years since we actually started gigging.
And you've been out on tour quite a bit.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything first on the recording side that, like, a little bit of a nugget of information or a word of wisdom that you can give to a band just starting out?
Patience.
Right.
And you have to kind of be a little bit flexible with it, because sometimes you have an idea and it sounds so good and you're really rooted in it, and when you get into the studio with the way it comes out, sometimes it's just like it doesn't translate well.
Right.
So you have to be kind of a little bit flexible and able to compromise with yourself a little bit. Be like, all right, I really wanted that, but I understand it doesn't work with that. We had a song doing the recording of this record back in June that I had that issue with. I was like,
right. Yeah, we can wait. We can always wait for the planes. This is like, it's an every 10-minute thing. I've had it with every interview so far.
That's a BYRD. Okay, I just derailed the whole thing.
all right.
That's a big bird right there.
Where was I? Thanks, Andy.
About the song that wasn't working.
Oh, yeah. So we were and so I had this part in it that was really a nice instrumentation part that I wrote for it, and I was really proud of it, of what I had written, but in the context of the song, once it was recording and developing, it didn't fit.
Right.
It just didn't work, and I tried a number of different ways, and I was pretty upset about it for, a little while we were up there doing the recording, and it was just eventually was like, it doesn't fit there. What did Tom say? My brother was like, save it for open mic night.
Right.
Acoustic mic night, or something,
So how often does that happen where, or maybe even with the first release, where there's something that it just took a long time to figure out how to get it all right?
Nothing really, because we didn't have a long time to make it work. We've kind of just gone into the studio with a bunch of riffs and a rough arrangement for songs, and then we just kind of go in and work it in the studio real quick and kind of put it together, and it keeps it sporadic a little bit, so it doesn't have a stale sound, at least to us, and with the recordings we've done in the past.
Go ahead. You can talk.
With Project Armageddon and whatnot, it's like the songs kind of got beaten to death before you went into the studio sometimes, so it was like it didn't have a life. So we're doing stuff a little different, or a lot different with this band, really, and that's one of the things, just kind of going in and knowing a bit of the parts, but we don't have it all ironed out. We want to bring some magic to it in the studio,
right?
And some of that creative, creates a creative pressure on you to make it happen. And so, and luckily, I guess for us, that we've been able to pull it off and make it happen while we're up there. And
Now, I know, I'm almost thinking of taking out this question. I ask a lot of bands, and I seem to get the similar answer quite a bit. Very often does it vary, and it's, does the music come first or the lyrics?
Yes.
Yes, they do. Absolutely.
Did I get the unique answer for that
Yes,
one?
that was
All
it.
right.
All right.
So.
That was the first.
Yes.
So,
You heard
when
it
do you
here
think,
first.
When do you think the next release is going to come out?
Hopefully we'll be able to get something by late this year, mid to late year.
I'm thinking realistically the winter at some point. Yeah.
Winter of
This year.
Of this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What
All
year
right.
is it? 2018? Yeah.
2018.
So, yeah, we should have it out by 2018.
Right. All right. And also, just first off, I want to say, first time checking you out, loved it live, thought it was killer, and I heard a track. I apologize. God is.
Your God is blind.
Your God is blind.
That'll be on the record.
That just sounded incredible.
Thank you.
So, do you think, or do you feel like the new album puts you at another level? Like you've progressed more as a complete band?
Absolutely. We've been out on the road quite a bit before we've went into the studio.
Right.
And, and we've been fortunate to work with several different musicians out on touring and stuff, and that creates, it keeps you on your toes, and it doesn't let you just get, super comfortable with what you're doing, and you have to, every time you play a song, it's a little different. So when we went in to record the actual record, even though the new stuff we hadn't rehearsed with anybody or practiced with anybody,
Right.
It still had that kind of you get influenced by how people play around you.
Sure.
And so that's been really awesome as a musician and artist in that context to experience that and be able to feel that influence in what I'm writing and how it's coming out.
Now, who's the main lyricist?
I write all the lyrics.
You write all
at
the
this
lyrics.
point, yeah.
And for the music, is it do you all jam and try to figure it out together, or do you bring different pieces and you say, hey, I got this riff, I got this drum beat, I got this bass line?
We have,
Here.
We haven't done that yet. We've mainly just written our stuff in the studio. I mean, we're very fortunate to be able to do that. So not a lot of people have the resources to be able to do that, but we've been able to do it. Thank
you, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Probably after this next full length, we'll start writing it how you're supposed to do it, which is go in, bring riffs, and you jam them out. So
Right.
yeah. So
Are you? Is anybody in here? Any of you saving something? Like you're not quite sure where to put it yet, and like maybe you've got a riff or something that you want to share that you're not quite sure where it's going to go yet.
There's always riffs.
Here, go ahead. What were we going to say?
There's always riffs in the pocket.
Yeah, there's always something. And when I've talked to some bands, and some bands, they'll be, they'll have their voice recorder, and they might not have their phone, so they put in that sound, and they're just like, I hope I can remember what I was thinking when I said that.
I do that all the time.
Is that the main way?
Probably why my phone is like, memory is full. And I probably I'm never going to go listen to this bop that I did 3 years ago.
And I know,
but it's there.
I know there's I'm sure it's gone around enough times where the Kirk Hammett story where he had 200 and something riffs and it was all on his phone and then it got stolen or he left it somewhere. Oh, I can't imagine.
Is that what happened to them?
It explains a lot of the crying, like the wah wah wah.
All the wah abuse. He gets angry at somebody, has to take it out on something.
Right?
yeah,
All right.
I have a ton of riffs on my phone, but they're all backed up. So I have them in 3 different places. So it's I probably have 3 albums worth of riffs. So
You're just a computer nerd.
yes.
So if I could, I'd like to go over some of the tracks here as soon as the next plane goes over our head and gets away from us, and it's about gone. Okay, let's start with Way of the Mountain. Do you have anything that you could share about that track or how that came about?
at this point, I'm a little hazy on how I came up with the riffs, but I just started pulling a bunch of riffs together, and that was one it actually really changed drastically when we sat down with Tom on drums in the studio to start working the riffs out.
Right.
I think it was the chorus riff. Just it didn't work with the original rhythmic flow that I had for it. It just didn't work. And so again, there's one thing I was like, I had to compromise and accept the change on it, and then realize, okay, listen back, I'm like, yeah, this sounds really good like this.
Right.
It's not what I was originally in my head, so I had to let that clear a bit and give that up, and just to make the song really work, because I liked the riff, just rearranging that. That's about kind of it on that one.
That's a bit. Okay, that's good. And what about Bitter Plea, which I got to hear live tonight?
That was like, I just had what's I guess the main intro riff and bridge riff there, which was just really pretty simple riff, but it's catchy. And we didn't even really work that one out. It was just kind of like, I think we had about 4 other songs. We had been working on some riffs that I had developed.
Right.
When we went up to go to the first tour in August of 2016, and I was like, all of a sudden, it was like, I think the week we were leaving, I was like, hey, we started jamming on that riff a little bit more, and then we had like 3 or 4 days up in Ohio with the drummer, my brother Tom,
right,
and Joe from both from Sparrowmilk, he was doing second guitar for us on that tour, and we just kind of like wrote it out there, and then just kind of fleshed it out on the road.
And then it just, that's another question.
I didn't even have the lyrics all written when we were on the road. I was just kind of writing them up there. I kind of like pressuring myself a little bit more like that, because I feel it helps bring out a little bit something truer to myself,
right,
something I'm really feeling, as opposed to just beating it out and just totally just spending weeks and weeks and weeks trying to write the lyrics to it, and you're kind of taking a little bit of the feel out of it a little bit.
Sure.
In the past with writing, I've done like that with Project Armageddon. So it's really, with this band, is just there's a lot of sporadicness to it, so it's in the moment, trying to capture that feel and essence in the studio, and even on tour. Like, we just toured in February with Beerwolf, and we did
great band.
that new song. Oh yeah. We just did. We played with them back on our second tour, which was Andy and Matt's first tour with us.
Right.
And so we're like, hey, you guys want to go out and hit the road with us? And they were like, yeah.
Right.
But Bones and Rust, we debuted on stage. Like, we hadn't played it live as a band. And Andy just listened to the tracks, and
it worked.
Been did the leads with it, wrote one of the solos, and had to do the harmony piece on the
Do you have you got anything to say about that track? Anything that comes to mind?
It's a good progression in our writing style. I really like it. It's kind of more concentrated on, I guess they're all concentrated on the 2-guitar dynamic, but with the harmonies and stuff, it was just something altogether different than we've done before.
Right.
And I just like the direction that we're going with the music we've been writing.
All right, there you go. And there's a couple other questions that I want to get down the line about playing, but I'd like to go into the next track first. As soon as the plane goes over, there you go. Rainbow Demon. That is a deep pull. Like, I think everybody pretty much knows of Easy Living, right? And what's the other song? I'm blanking on it. It's a popular song. I've heard it in movies. Gosh, what is it? Is it Wicked or where is it? The Wizard. The Wizard. That's a real popular tune. But you went with Rainbow Demon by Uriah Heep.
So what was that? New Year's 2016. We were traveling. Me and Brandon were going out to Florida. We were going to visit like my grandma and aunt and uncle, and then going to go out to Fort Lauderdale to spend a couple days out there.
I used to live there.
We took some acoustics, and we just kind of wanted to get away from the norm and home, and kind of be on our own to kind of, I guess, flush our minds and stuff a little bit to prepare to go start doing the Doomstress stuff.
Right. Yeah, we're waiting again.
We're waiting again.
This, I gotta say, this used to be like every 10 minutes. Yeah. Now I feel like it's every 5.
You're right.
But we're dealing.
It's rush hour. But so we were just driving somewhere along the Gulf Coast, and it was like the middle of the night, and we were listening to that record, that CD in the car, and Rainbow Demon played, and we were listening to it, and we were just like, and it ended, and the next song started, but it was still just kind of quiet in the car, and we just kind of looked at each other and was like, we should cover that song.
Yeah.
We should totally do that song with Doomstress. And it was like, yeah, we were both just synced up with it, and we're feeling it.
And I can't tell whether it fits unbelievably well with the band or you just made it your own and made it fit.
Little column A, little column B. So.
Yeah, it was. I love that track. I mean, it's like, I think that might have been the first track for something. Like I was listening on Bandcamp, and I think for some reason that's the first one that hit. And I was like, this is incredible. And at the minute, I didn't even know it was a cover. And I had to go back, and I was like, and I can't even remember how I looked it up, but I was like, oh, wow, what a great pull.
Well, thank you.
Oh, it's just fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, we get a lot of compliments on that one. Yeah, and harmonizing the guitar solos, because when Brandon recorded it, you did 3 guitar solos. It's like, and yes. Yeah, we did. We had requests for that song last night in Acadia. We played with Great Electric Quest in Spring, Texas.
Those
Houston.
guys are killer.
Yeah, they're a good time. They're pretty cool.
They're a whole bunch of fun.
Really cool.
And I see him. I feel like I'm seeing him every few months.
Yeah, they're road dogs, no doubt.
They're true road dogs.
So,
and
super cool.
What can you tell me about Sleep Among the Dead? I heard that tonight too.
I don't even know how I came up with the riffs for that, but it was like I knew I was like really onto something with that song,
right?
And I felt a lot of power and energy from that song as I was trying to develop it. And I don't know, it's just like, and the lyrics I didn't have, I came up with those like crunch time in the studio. It was like we were getting ready to we have to get here and get this thing. We still have to mix, and we were like down to like 2 days to mix the original self-released EP.
Right.
And I was still writing lyrics for it in the studio, trying to like work it out, and it was a lot of different things for me, like coming up with like the split chorus, kind of the call answer chorus was different. On the recording, I do tracks on both of that, but Brandon also did tracks on that. Is that the only one you did backing vocals on that record?
I did.
On the
I did backing vocals on Rainbow Demon.
That's right.
Right.
I think that's it.
So it was like, and that's something we hadn't done in the studio before. Brandon hadn't sang in the studio in any of the bands we'd done before. So
And he brought it.
yeah. So, and he's been doing it
yeah,
live,
that's what
so
I did.
it's good.
I just brought the thunder. That's all. No big deal.
it's-
Shrugs it off so humbly.
So writing for coming from Project Armageddon for so long, being the power trio, is like writing for 2 guitars now is become instrumental to me. It was something I'd wanted to do for a long time, and when this came out, I knew when I wanted to do Doomstress as a band, I
Right.
wanted to have that twin guitar sound. So, which was also a little challenging doing it in a studio because you have one guitarist going in there, me and Brandon writing the riffs, and so I'm not sure exactly what I'm trying to say, but it's just you're trying to do a separate piece on it, but you're the same person, kind of thing, and you want to give it a slightly different vibe or come at it from a different perspective. So to play that different part and give it that difference.
Right.
I think that makes sense. I don't know.
It's what you feel.
I'm delirious at this point. It's been a few days, and I haven't had much sleep. And
You ain't done yet.
I don't think anybody's having much sleep out here at South by Southwest.
So
I mean,
it's kind of like,
if not for the bands itself, it's just for the planes going overhead, keeping you awake constantly. So what can you tell me about Wicked Woman?
well, I love the song. I love the Coven version of it, and it was that's my favorite song by them. And Brandon didn't like it. He wasn't a fan of the song. And when we were trying to in the studio, actually trying to finally get the riffs down, he just was like, I am not liking this. The recording quality on the original is a little rough.
Right.
So what the parts are, and just wasn't translating to what we were doing. And again, it was something I had to compromise on because I kind of wanted to do it like that, and it was like, no, that's not going to work for us. And then, what was it, the bass line I was doing?
Yeah, there's a bass fill in the song that Alexa started to play, and I was like, that should be the main riff in the song.
Right.
The main, yeah. Right. I was like, I can work with that. You know, it surprised me. It turned out as well as it did. I feel we did a great job on that cover.
Absolutely.
Sure.
I mean, the whole release, top to bottom, it flows great and it sounds amazing.
Thank you.
So with this next release, do you have any song titles that you can shout out yet?
Well, the Your God Is Blind and
Yep.
Bones and Rust that we've been playing. We just debuted Bones and Rust back in February on the tour we did with Beerwolf, and so Your God Is Blind. Those are the new ones that we've got in the set that we're playing currently, and we do throw in Apathetic Existence occasionally, so that's kind of a lot doomier song.
Right.
So some of our stuff, you know, we're big fans of just traditional metal and old school metal, and so it's like we're really kind of a metal band with a heavy doom influence.
What would be, speaking of influence, what would be, like, as metal, what would be an early influence?
I mean, Iron Maiden and Judas Priest were the early influences for me.
Right. So, and with the Steve Harris bass?
Yes.
Was that one of your idols?
Oh, for sure,
Right.
sure, yeah. It was just
Anything the Apathy Brothers do.
Yeah. Bring it. They bring it.
Oh, anything they do on the drums,
I
man,
think-
it's there. It's happening.
We were developing one of the new songs that's going to be on the record early on with Andy, because there was a part in it. We were trying to flesh out a couple of them before we went up to the studio in Ohio. Andy had done a few tours with us at that point, and so the chorus on that song. Can I throw the name? Yeah. But anyways, there's the chorus on one of the songs they wrote that we developed that Andy was very he's not on the recording, but he was very instrumental in the development of the song.
All right.
And we'll have Andy on some recordings.
And I know
too, so.
I know it's coming out later this year, hopefully. What was like about the most difficult track to get through, and what was the quickest track, or what was the easiest one?
The most difficult was a track on there called Burning Lotus. That thing is just, it's not that it's hard. Well, it's hard, but it's like, it's all, I mean, it's for guitar players. I mean, it's absolutely all power chords. You're power chording through the whole damn thing. There's no open notes, so it's like, so your hand just starts cramping up, and
So
it's like, yeah.
That's going to be one of the hardest to play live?
No.
look at that. I see it.
Now that I have it down, it's not as bad as it was when I was trying to learn the song as well as record the song as well. So it made things very, very difficult, you know.
And are you
I made
agreeing?
it easier for him by like recording half the guitar rhythm tracks too. So.
Are you agreeing with him on that track?
I've only had to record one solo for it, so I had the easy part.
Yeah, Brandon copped out on the solos on that song. He was all like, "Yeah, let Matt do them."
And if you, I know nobody could see this, but I did see the world's smallest violin playing as
Yeah.
he's talking about his riffing. And what's the easiest, or what was the easiest? What are they? There isn't one.
I mean, it was really because it was like all developed in the studio. I mean, I guess Bones and Rust came together pretty good, or Apathetic actually,
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
because
yeah.
we had already played that one before, and we had that one really worked out pretty
Recorded
good.
a demo with that, didn't you?
We did in years past, but we revamped it and made some alterations to it. So.
Right. Well, that's awesome. And now, like I said, I can't wait for it to come out at the end of the year. Hopefully, we're God willing, or somebody willing.
Yeah, it should be out this year, one
That's
way or
awesome.
another. So.
Now, I also want to, because I've seen a lot of stuff on your social media, especially regarding your merch and your merch booth. I don't know why, but I tend to geek out when I see a good merch booth and somebody that takes the time to create a presence, because you got to stack it high and watch it fly, Yeah. So I'd like to talk about that quickly.
Okay.
Who is doing your artwork?
The majority of our artwork has been done by Goatess Doomwytch out of UK.
Okay.
And I had wanted to work with her for years and years, back when we were in Project Armageddon, doing things with them. But it was like it wasn't something I didn't have like full artistic license with that band to control and stuff. So
Sure.
this is my band, so it's like I'm gonna do this.
You can do what the hell you want.
That's right. So, but I'd been a fan of her style, and so I knew when I started this Doomstress that's who I wanted to use, and
Sure.
for a lot of like logo work, and I'm just looking at her sticker right there over on Texas Metal
There
Show
it is.
podcast, right there.
That's right there from Texas
there,
Metal
'cause
Show.
We're talking about it, the skull logo. Then we had David Paul Seymour, very well known.
Yeah,
in the scene,
we've mentioned him on the podcast several times. If
Yeah.
I got to get him on someday.
So he did the 7-inch artwork for us for the Wicked Woman Way of the Mountain single.
Right.
And then we just had Lena Leap they contacted me on Instagram that they would love to do artwork for us sometime, and I like their styling. Instagram, you discover so many awesome artists. It's like I want to work with them all, but
Absolutely.
it's like I've got a list of like over 100 people I probably want to work with, and it's like maybe one day I'll get to all of them, but
Oh, jeez.
it's so. But they did the Rainbow Demon T-shirt, the
cool.
like the vintage Western chick.
Yeah, that
kinda
throwback,
with
yeah.
the motorcycle on.
Yeah,
the,
it's almost
Skull
like
Highway.
I wore a Faster Pussycat shirt yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of reminded me of that, like the strong, the woman. It could be a killer. You don't know.
Yeah.
She still looks like a
She's
beast.
the Doomstress. What
The
does that
Doomstress.
mean?
There you go.
That's right.
Well, look, I know you have to head out. I know you got to do
We
a
gotta
bunch of other
load out
stuff,
and get to the next show.
And
so.
I just want to thank you all very much for your time. I would look so forward to meeting you all. And lastly, I said I screwed this up. I can't remember the other question, but I'll get it somewhere and somehow and someday. Do you have a question that you want to ask another band?
Yeah, what's your favorite venue and city to play?
Perfect. All right. Thank you all so much for your time. You've been so gracious.
Thanks so much for having us on Doom Tune Podcast.
I appreciate it. Safe travels, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Take care. I want to thank everybody, all of the band members from Doomstress. Thank you so much for your time. I know that you all were rushed, but you were patient enough to spend a few minutes with me, and I greatly appreciate that. Let's hear a track off of their last release, Supernatural Cult Sounds, The Second Right. This is the first track of that release. This is Way of the Mountain. right now we have another track coming up. This one is from the band Tombtoker, all one word, Tombtoker. Find them on social media. They're based out of Baltimore, Maryland. Let's hear one of their tracks right now. This is Warfare Revolution. wasn't exactly sure of where to put this interview, so I figured why not here? Doomstress had a shorter interview because they had to get to the next venue. So here's a short interview done with Todd Severin from Ripple Music and Damon Caraway from Gravitoid Presents, the guy that put on the Stoner Days Festival. Here is their interview. Matt, how you doing, brother? My name's Chris.
Sledge hangs out with us. This dude is insane. He's become like my indispensable right-hand man.
The right-hand man. Well, we also have a left or right-hand woman. Is it Corinne? Corrine. And so how much, let me say who else I'm with. I'm with Todd, and is it Severin?
Severin.
Todd Severin from none other than Ripple Music, and I am so excited. I didn't know you were going to be here. This is like a big get.
And we got Gravitoid coming right here with his lady.
That is going to be awesome. That is going to be Gravitoid and Donna, of course.
Yes.
So tell me, what brings you over here to Texas Mist?
Oh, well, first of all, the whole South by thing is something which is just still kick-ass.
Right.
You know, so many good bands come here. It still is a site that you have to be a part of. And when a guy like Damon puts together a show, 2-day show like he's got going here, and was kind enough to include a bunch of Ripple bands, then you got to come out and support it.
So let's go back and forth. Damon, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, brother.
Now, if we could talk a little bit about how did you get this massive undertaking of a 2-day fest started?
Okay, it started from zero.
Right, yeah, that's a good place.
Because one of the local bands asked me, because I've been promoting in Austin for a little while,
right.
One of the local bands asked me if I was going to do anything for South by, and I'm like, I wasn't planning on it. I was thinking about maybe next year.
Right.
And they said, well, you should do something. I'm like, yeah, okay, we'll see what I can put together. So I contacted Mark from Zed, who's one of my friends.
Right.
And he wasn't the first. I was hitting all the local bands up too, but then I hit him because we're friends. And I'm like, I know you guys are going to be here in town. Would you guys like to play my show? And he's like, yeah, probably so. Let's check with Matt Bacon.
Right.
Who's
all the way over there. He's on the phone with somebody else right now.
He helps me out with tour booking and festivals.
And he put me in touch with Matt Bacon, and Matt says, yeah, Zed can.
I know, we got what do we got? Like every 10 minutes, we got another airplane flying over?
But yeah, so Matt says, yeah, we can get Zed in there for sure. You want some more bands? I'm like, who do you got? And he started naming off bands. I'm like, fuck yes.
Hell yeah,
Let's do it, man. Everybody you got, I'll take. You know, because I'm a big Ripple fan. I've been a Ripple fan for a long time.
And Todd, how do you decide like who you want on the label?
You know, the first thing is always the music.
Right.
You know, and it's got to be something which, you know, can be inspired by other bands from the past, but it's got to be taken in its own directions. You know, you don't want just another Sabbath. You want to see what they're going to do with Sabbath.
Sure.
Make something interesting. So the music's always the most important thing. Second thing has got to be the people, though. You know, if you met the guys, the Watchers already.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every one of the bands, he's talking about Mark from Zed, who's on Ripple. Yeah. You know, you got to have people that you really enjoy working with, because we spend a lot of our invested energies together.
Absolutely.
And then third thing is, you know, we were talking about it earlier, you want a band that's got a plan. You know, they have to have a focus, you know, because it becomes a relationship between the label and the band working together.
Right.
To make something happen. And then that's where you bring in the promoters who can help, and you bring in the podcasters and the radio shows, and it all works together as a scene, and every component's got to hold their own. So you can't just be a good musician. You got to be serious about your craft, which includes the business.
Like we kind of talked about a little bit off mic, is the business aspect is very important. As much as you might love picking up a guitar or hitting the drums, you have to have a solid plan or you're not going to go anywhere.
As a band, yeah, that's absolutely true. You know, it's you might put out an album and it might get heard and it might get a buzz in the underground, and after those 200 copies have been sold, it's what next?
Right. Right,
know?
Exactly.
Yeah, the bands, from what I've experienced, the bands that have at least one person in the band that's business-minded,
right,
are the ones that really make it, because they're the person. I mean, yeah, there's the creative force, and sometimes creativity is not always associated with business.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree.
Or sanity.
Or sanity, yeah. But we don't want to knock it, though, because that's where it all comes from. You know, that's the passion. But it's that ability to take that passion and apply it to a business format. Like, okay, we've got a product to sell,
right,
you know, and if you don't have that mindset of it's a product and we've got to push it, then you're going to be a local band, you know.
Right.
Exactly.
So
for a long time.
The band is really the focus.
Right.
We are all really just assists to the band.
Sure.
You know, a label can't make a band. A booker, tour promoter can't make a band.
Right.
But if the band is part of that whole synergy, then it can work really well. Yeah. Now, this guy who just wasn't going to do anything and suddenly threw together a 2-day 16
total
no.
28 bands.
28
bands in 2 days.
Wow.
You want to talk about, you know, what it means to be a professional as a band. He deals with these guys and get them all here and committed and on time and have their gear and be prepared to step up on stage and do a show That's professionalism.
I can't believe everybody's pretty much on time today.
Well, the thing is, and I've dealt with bands that didn't have that professionalism before.
Right.
But all of these bands, the ones that Ripple brought, and the local bands that I've got in here too, are quintessential professionals.
Sure.
They all do it well. It's their business. They want to make it succeed, and they're working at it.
That's cool. Yeah, I hear some people, I know some people, they struggle sometimes on tour because, getting from point A to point B, a van breaks down and, like a couple of pieces of merch that sell could mean whether they got gas to get to the next town.
Yeah, a burrito versus a hand salami sandwich.
Yeah, I remember Scott Ian a long time ago said that when he was struggling, it was ham on hand.
That's right.
Yeah, and that was it. That's all they could do.
Yeah.
So what do you have coming up next for Ripple in 2018? You got anything you can talk about?
Dude. My buddy Sludge.
Is there too much to talk about?
Sludge has been with helping us out for 2 years now, year and a half. This cat, he wrote me up one day. I'm just going to tell you some Sludge backstory here.
Sure.
He wrote me up. He goes, "Listen, I'm local.
Right.
I love the label. I want to do what I can to help you out. I just want to come ship boxes with you. Is it okay if I just hang out with you?" I said,
Right.
"Sure, brother, come on up." He says he's from Hayward, which is like 20 minutes down the street. So he comes up, hangs out with me and Pope John, who's my partner in this. And it's fun. Music's playing, we're cracking jokes, drinking a little bourbon, shipping boxes.
There you go.
And then I find out that he doesn't live in Hayward. He was from Hayward. He lives in Modesto, which you guys don't know, but it's an hour and a half away. Right. And so I go, okay, well, that's a one and done. I mean, nobody's crazy enough to drive an hour and a half each way just to ship boxes.
Sure.
18 months later.
This is the guy.
He's still there.
So did you move out there or what?
No, I work halfway between where my house is and where his office is located. So I'm already halfway there. So once a week I drive the extra 45 minutes to get to his office and then we ship stuff and drive back an hour and a half.
So he's asking if we have much coming up this year. It's insane.
Loaded.
Really?
2 releases a month.
Yes. The joke is last year when he started, we were way too busy. And I
Right.
said, okay, my goal is next year I'm going to drop it down to 1 release a month.
Sure.
Because we were doing 2 releases a month. There are major labels that don't do 2 releases a month. Okay, and we're dudes.
And you're bringing it out, yeah.
We're just guys. And we're doing 2 a month. But that's because there's so much good music, like we were talking about.
Right.
And so I promise I'm going to slow it down. I promise I'm going to slow it down. We have 2 every month this year, except for the second half of the year. It's probably going to be 3. I just got the email from Roadsaw. Their record's ready. The 8 Machine record's ready. It's
And where are they?
Lightning Born is signing on.
Wow.
So, and then if you want to know one of the coolest things, which is coming up as far as the whole scene goes, is that Tim Granada and Paul David Seymour are doing a full-length motion feature.
That's that comic feature, yeah.
Animated Planet of Doom, which is going to be like our heavy metal.
That is, I can't wait.
And the band,
Those are big shoes to fill.
Yeah, seriously, and the art's phenomenal. And they've got an amazing array of bands that are going to be on the soundtrack, and Ripple's going to be doing the whole soundtrack to that film. So that's, and we have the first taste of that coming out in June. So that's going to be a cool project. And the art is insane.
Yeah, Todd just showed me a list of the bands that are going to be playing on that, and I was blown away.
So to people that don't know, Damon, who are some of the people that are on this bill tonight? Oh, you got to pull it out.
Well, Wolftooth is coming up.
Wolftooth is coming up.
So
We might,
if I run away.
yeah, we might have to cut this short because I got to see Wolftooth too.
You saw Roast sounded good.
Roast was fantastic.
Roast sounded really good.
The Watchers, great. Electric Quest.
The Quest. The Watchers, of course.
Salem's
I'm
Bend.
biased for the Watchers. I have to
And
be.
then from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Smoky Mirror was there.
Smoky Mirror.
Kanan from Texarkana.
Salem's Bend played earlier.
Yeah.
So these are all bands that you guys got to check out. Go to Bandcamp, find them, download it, support this scene because this, we were talking off mic again, and I got to say that I have not seen anybody that is just negative in this scene. Everybody's got such a positivity, no dicks basically. Everybody's they all want to seem to help each other, and that is so important.
Well, that's how it's going to happen.
Yeah, seriously.
We all have to work together.
And,
Yeah, 'cause, like,
karma's a bitch, man.
I mean, as I started, one of the first bands, I grew up like more listening to like The Sword, like ASG, Little Fu Manchu. Yeah, so, I didn't know much about it. I was coming from Florida, come out to Arizona, And there was actually a term for it. I didn't know. I just called it riff rock. I had no idea. And then
Desert
I come
rock,
out
summer
here.
rock?
Yeah, well, I came out to Arizona, and yeah, sure enough, they said, yeah, we play desert rock out here. I'm like, oh, okay. And then you got somebody from Montana saying, oh, no, we play more mountain rock. And it's all comes in the same genre. Let me ask you this, because coming from Florida, I didn't see a whole lot in the Florida area. Are there bands that you hear about coming from Florida, or is there any kind of the Shrine?
Are they really? I didn't know that.
Well,
They're solid
yesterday
too.
at the Stoner Jam,
Yeah.
Beer Wolf.
We just
Beer-
signed
yes.
Beer Wolf.
That's right, Beer Wolf.
Beer Wolf is an incredible band.
By the way, they're Ripple.
They are there you go. Not hashtag just saying there. And by the way, you just to go back, the Watchers at Black Abyss, man, that was incredible.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
The beautiful thing about that is that they're local for us.
Right.
And Tim's studio is 20 minutes from our office. So we're flies on the walls during the recording session, and just it's so cool to watch the way their brains work, It's like,
Sure.
like Carter does a great little drum run, and then, Tim is sitting there and he's thinking, okay, let's kind of double do that part over there on the toms. And I'm going, how does it? What? And then he does, and I go, whoa, that's amazing. That sounds even better.
Yeah, I interviewed them just a few days ago, and I didn't know what a drummer he was.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea.
I spent a lot of time in the studio with Kent from Lofat.
Right.
And
I love Kent.
talk about a
Kent's
mind.
dope.
Yeah.
He's the man.
Yeah, we were hanging out with them while they're recording Orthodox Fuzz.
Wow.
Yeah, and again, I love hearing the way these guys think about music. It's
Sure.
a whole different language.
Right.
And I'm not talking like, octaves and shit like that. It's just the way they think.
Their whole
I learned
process.
so much.
So, okay, go ahead.
Let me add on to that.
Yeah.
So Zed from San Francisco, and also
Austin on Ripple.
a Ripple band.
Just by chance.
They're
Who'd have
staying
thunk
with
it?
me. So Mark and I were friends. I think I mentioned that earlier. But
Right.
so they're staying at my house, my wife's house too. And
Shout out to Donna.
Actually, they're staying at her house, man. She's letting you stay at her house.
she rules the roost. But they were this afternoon. Donna came to me, or no, it was this morning before we left to come over here, and we were late. But she's like, "Hey, Damon, guess what they're doing in our living room?" I'm like, what? She's like, they're writing a song in our living room. That's cool. So
Were they like on acoustics jamming?
one of the next songs, yeah. And the drummer, Rich,
Yeah.
he was
No,
like
Sean.
Sean. Okay.
Sean.
Sorry.
New drummer.
Shit, Rich. Sorry.
No, Rich. It's all
Sean, my
easy.
bad.
It's all easy. He just stepped aside to do his own thing.
Well, first off, that is incredible that you could actually name the people. That shows that you're really involved. Like, everybody's name.
Yeah, Sean's gonna kick my ass. Okay. Yeah, but Sean
And he
plays-
could do it too.
He could. And he wouldn't care. He's like, I'm gonna kick your ass.
And he'd make you laugh the whole time.
He's a character. But yeah, he plays guitar as well. So he's the drummer, but he's like Pete is like playing this lick, and Sean's like, dude, you should try this. And he's like, I don't know anything about music, but that whole process was like, wow, just, the creative process is awesome to see.
Yeah, you get to see it firsthand,
Yeah.
and then
In my living room.
maybe it'll be in the liner notes.
I hope so.
It's kind of funny that he's talking about Zed, because when my wife was getting exposed to the music,
Right.
and I talked to you off
Yeah.
beforehand, this wasn't really her scene. Initially, because she grew up more of a funk R&B urban sort of vibe.
Sure.
And the first band that she resonated with was Zed, because they got that funk underneath it all.
Yep.
Mark on bass is just so.
So when you were talking before about bands, and I'm curious about a little bit more about getting them on your label if need be. So the first thing is they have to have their shit together. They have to know.
Well, the first thing's got to be the music.
Yeah.
I mean, that's. I would never sign a band. You came to me and said, "Hey, this band's going to blow up, blah blah blah," and I can't stand the music. I can't get excited
the
about
talent
it.
Yeah.
needs to be there. I mean, even
Yeah.
if they have good management and they're approaching it from that business standpoint, if the creativity and the sounds out there, then yeah.
It's kind of like when you got into the second generation of hair metal and it all started sounding samey.
Oh yeah, it did.
You don't want that. You needed that grunge to come and shake it up again. So,
Right.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, we're a little bit. The first generation of Desert Stoner Rocks happened. Mm-hmm. The second generation's happened. This is now like the third main iteration
Yeah, I
of
think
it.
so.
Right.
Right, because you had the first one, of course, with Caius and those guys, and then afterwards was when you had Queens of the Stone Age and Fu Manchu was getting bigger and stuff. So for the third generation, you can't just be, you know, if you look at hair metal, when it started off and there's some badass shit, it ended up with Warrant and Slaughter, and you don't want that.
Yeah.
You know?
It gets overproduced and watered down.
You got to keep the creativity there.
But
now,
but they had good hair.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, way better than mine. Way better than yours. Sure as hell. Now, you know what? I'm going to cut this right now, and we're going to go back because if you can't hear it in the background, the mighty Wolf Tooth is on stage. It's the first time.
On Cursed Tongue Records, Hello Niels in Denmark.
Badass releases. We'll talk again soon, guys.
Hi, brother.
I want to thank Todd and Damon for giving me so much of their time. I know all of us collectively wanted to see Wolf Tooth play live, and they did not disappoint. Check them out when they're coming to a venue near you. Now, if you're listening to this, it's definitely after 4/20/18, and that was the release date of The Sciences by Sleep. I hope you all grabbed a copy, or as many as you could. I have mine in the mail somewhere. It's being sent to me, and I was lucky enough to get vinyl and CD, and I believe it's a green edition. I don't know if they're going to do other editions. I hope they do other releases. From what I have heard, it is a fantastic release. I have saved my listening time until I actually get it in hand. I'm not going on digital media. I want to hear this the way it should be heard on LP. So I guess that's about it for this week. Next week, we have the band Hexxus, and they are a heavy, heavy doom band. We got into a lot of weird discussions and a lot of silliness and craziness. It was towards the end of this Stoner Days festival, and we had a lot going on around us, so it was just a really, really good time. So that's the next podcast. So until that time, keep going to the shows. Enjoy yourselves. Buy a little merch every once in a while. Crank it up and stay heavy.
Well, there's a quote that Dio told to Dave Mustaine one time, and it was, well, you know, we can jerk each other off all day, or we can smoke this joint.